Hello there. I'm very tired. I'm the Duracell and you are you are Dermatillomania Dermatillomaniac Intermedium. You're the federation of my Duracellmania. Okay, whatever. It's just a stupid intro. Anyway, besides the point. Today we're going to talk about the Olympics, and there was a controversy that happened. Not the opening ceremony controversy. That's a whole different thing. That's more of a cultural thing. This is more of a biological, scientific thing. This was a boxing match between a chromosomal man and a full female, right? Now, interesting thing about this person, right, who was boxing this full female, right, is they had higher traces of testosterone, plus they had a Y chromosome. Now, interesting though, the phenotype that they had was female. They didn't have very many male organs from what I could tell. There's no evidence to support their transgender or anything. So they're probably what you call, it's called developmental sexual disorder. I think that's what it's called. And it affects 1.5% of the world. 1.5% of the world has this disorder. And the interesting thing is, how do we categorize people that have this disorder? They're not intersex necessarily, because, the only thing different about them is the fact they've got the wrong organs for a... So the DNA is supposedly, you have a Y chromosome, you're supposed to develop male organs. Now, you might be able to... And this is the issue that this female had, right? It was with the female with the Y chromosome. The problem she had was she was developing a few of the male symptoms, like high testosterone and higher muscle density, compared to all her competitors, making it very unfair. But she didn't have a penile or a freaking she had to. For the most part, she looked mostly like a woman. She had the female parts. And so, and people with this disorder some of them can give birth, some of them can, some of them, not all of them. With developmental sexual disorder, it's very, very hard because your DNA says you're a man, right? If you look at your XY chromosome. However, the phenotype, the actual thing you have on your body, your organs are female. And so she was told her whole life that she was female until they just did a whole testosterone test, and then they did a sex test, figuring out what chromosomes she had, and she had an XY chromosome. XY chromosomes, basically saying it's a man biologically when it comes to DNA, but phenotype-wise she's a female because her whole life she's been considered a woman, right? Or a girl, right? And so this is a big, big issue, is how do we categorize these people? Because they're 1.5% of the population. And it would be kind of weird to exclude them from both the men's competition and the women's competition. But at the same time, like it's not fair for all the women that don't have this, it's clear to everyone that it's a biological advantage. But at the same time, they've been a girl their whole lives, you know what I mean? They're not going to change that just because of the way they are. They're not going to go compete against men now, just because they haven't, just because of the whole thing. And I don't know what the answer is. I think a third category is probably for the Paralympics would be necessary. I know that's probably the worst answer you possibly get, but female sports, full female, right? We need to have a full female category, and then we need to have this separate category for these people that are 1.5%. There has to be more than just her that has this condition who are also wrestling or boxing in the Olympics. There has to be. Or at least, even if they're not in the Olympics, there's got to be other people around the world that have this condition. Because it's unfair for somebody with high amounts of testosterone and probably slightly higher muscle density. We don't know exactly what that Y chromosome's contributing to, in terms of phenotype. We know she doesn't have male organs, right? That we're sure of. But we do not know about the muscle density. We have not been taught anything about the muscle density, and we've been taught about the testosterone, and we've been taught about chromosomes. We've not been talking about our muscle density. And even if you have the same like weight of muscle that a regular female has, it can still be an advantage because of the way those muscles are developed in that part of the body. You know what I mean? So, like, people don't seem to talk about these traits that this Y chromosome could theoretically put on this woman. Right? She is a full woman. There's no debate about that. She's never had male organs. When you look at the phenotype, but when you look at the DNA or whatever you call it, the Y and X chromosomes, she's clearly a man. But we don't know how much of that development has affected her ability to win in the sport. But it's pretty obvious now that as she gets older that it has affected her ability to win. And now we have to really put a cap on, okay, you got to lower your testosterone, we got to cut out some of that muscle. Because, like if you're punching someone and they almost die from it, and they said this woman, the woman who had an XX chromosome, said, I've never felt pain like that before compared to any other competitor I've ever fought. Like, that to me, that shows that other woman, the one with the XY chromosome, is almost fully developed, like 23 or whatever, right? Because men normally don't get very, very high strength until their mid-20s. Like, athletic-wise, women are better when they're younger. Men are better when they're older. But men also die sooner, so it's a little strange that men mature slower, but then they die quicker. But there's a reason for that because, again, men had to prepare for war, and generally, if you're in war and you stay like 5 years in war, you're golden, right? If you die young in war, it's kind of sad. But anyway, that's besides the point, right? So, women mature faster, but that's because they need to give birth sooner rather than later because their eggs are expiring. And it's just true. It's just the way things are. You can give birth in your 30s, but it's not recommended. People get all sorts of conditions when you get birth in your 30s. Anyway, that's besides the point, right? This issue with this Algerian fighter, the Italian fighter was full female. Algerian fighter was a partial female. But physically it was a female, but biologically it was a man. How do we categorize this person? Clearly it's a woman, but at the same time, the chromosomes don't add up. And we don't know how much of that Y chromosome is contributing to their success. And that's what a lot of these right-wingers are saying. And then I saw a lot of trans activists, I should say, on the internet talk about how unfair it was that they're we're going off on her. No, we're not going off on her. Like, in my opinion, she can do whatever she wants, right? She can go in the Olympics. I don't have a problem with that. The issue I have a problem with is, like, if we know that this advantage exists, right? Like, it's an actual, and the Olympics defines things by chromosomes. That's literally the test. I looked up the test for the gender in the Olympics, right? For the Olympics, the Olympic rings, whatever. I looked up the test for it, and it says it's only defined by the chromosomes. That's what obviously we need to change our definition because, if she can compete as a female, she's always been known as a female because, physically she's a female. Maybe that should be the definition. Maybe you have to be physically a female in order to compete. I don't know, right? But clearly, if the Olympic test is chromosomes, but then you're still competing with those same chromosomes, clearly you violate some sort of rule there. Clearly there's something wrong in those rules, right? But at the same time, like, I think that she's weaker than most men, but she's stronger than probably some of the top athletes in the world. So, what do you do in that? You're stuck in a catch-22. You're weaker than all the men, but you're stronger than all the women. It makes sense for her to compete with the women at that point. It goes in her benefit, but at the same time, there's nothing we can do. You know what I mean? The only thing we can do is make a third category. Make it make it DSD or whatever, because that's the name of the condition that she has. Intersex used to be the name of the condition, but now intersex has been defined as a certain DSD. But at the same time, we can make an intersex category in the Olympics, or put it in the Paralympics, because it is an actual, it's called a disorder, a sexual disorder, a developmental sexual disorder, right? Put it in the Paralympics. If you're going to name it a disorder anyway, even though that's not actually like a real, you haven't lost a limb or anything. It's not an actual, an ailment, It doesn't inhibit you from doing your sport. It's clearly not related to your disorder, whatever your sport is not inhibited by your disorder. I think putting them in the Paralympics or putting them in a place that's because Paralympics is for most people don't watch the Paralympics as much. The Olympics is more well known, so obviously we should probably put her in the Olympics if you want to get the most eyes on her. But at the same time, it's just not fair to the rest of the athletes. It's just not. We know about this advantage. If the test is the chromosomes, and she's clearly failed it multiple times in international testing, then that's not good. She should try her best to lower testosterone, because let's say I was in her situation, I accidentally kill someone because I have a higher amount of muscle density and testosterone. Well, we don't know about the muscle density, but we know about the testosterone. Then I would be like, I would want to lower my testosterone, or at least do something to mitigate the fact that you could be killing someone if you punch someone. She almost could have killed that woman, the other woman that was competing against her. That's a very, very sad and scary situation, right? Anyway, this is me trying to explain, not a biologist by any means, not a scientist by any means, but trying to explain the controversy of this boxing match between this Algerian boxer who has a XY chromosome and this Italian boxer who has an XX chromosome, trying to explain why that can be unfair and why sex, even species, is not even well defined. You know what I mean? A species is two animals that can breed with each other, but a donkey and a different animal could breed to make infertile offspring. But at that point, that's why we call it two different species. But there's no clear definition between what a species is, what a gender is. That's the thing, right? We humans like to put things in categories, and this is really what I'm getting at. I love categories too. That's why I define myself as a Chicagoan economist, because I love their ideals compared to all the other types of economics, and I do like to categorize different economists into different boxes. Same things when it comes to countries. I'll categorize them as dictatorship, democracy, based on the certain policies they enact, price controls, whatever, right? Whatever you have, right? I love categorizing things, but we have to remember as humans that categories do not fit into neat boxes. These conservatives or whatever are wrong, and these trans activists are also wrong. You need to have a middle ground. You need to understand that there's no fit category. They're not totally fixed, because phenotype and genes cannot always correlate. There's always some sort of mutation that can go wrong, or something else that can go wrong, causing a different species to be developed, or the intersex, or whatever GSD disorders to happen. It just is what it is. You cannot fit everything into a nice category. You can fit 99% of things in nice categories, but that 1%, you're going to fail to categorize that 1%, and it's kind of weird to have an awkward 1% sitting there. And that's really the controversy between this boxing match. What do we do with the 1% that don't fit in our nice little categories of humanity? What do we do? I don't know. And that's the question that we all need to answer as a human species, a human endeavor. What do we do? I mean, it's probably a waste of time and a waste of energy to keep categorizing things. We shouldn't have done that in the first place, but women wouldn't have been able to compete if we didn't put categories in. So, because top 20 men can beat the top 20 women in almost any sport known to mankind, except for maybe ultra-marathoning. Right? Women generally match about the same as men when it comes to really ultra-marathoning. I'm not talking about regular marathons, I'm talking about 100 miles. Women can absolutely beat men in those. But other than that, women are not that good at sports compared to, ultra-marathoning is the one thing that women are good at. And even then, ultra-marathoning is only a small percent of women that are actually good at it. Most women are not that endurance-based, right? And so that's the thing, right? Us trying to fit into these little categories, and then trying to fit this 1% of humanity that has this weird gender, sexual developmental disorder. It's just really, really sad. And we need to come up with a solution other than have her box almost kill someone, right? I'm not saying she shouldn't compete against women, but there needs to be something like lower your testosterone, or cut out some muscle out of your arm. Just have a little surgery, cut out the muscle of your arm. I know that sounds terrible, but if we need to make sure these women athletes are safe, there's a reason why we separate them in the first place, then we should do it. Anyway, I'm the Duratile Maniac talking about a Olympic controversy. Goodbye.